Are the Jazz the best team in the NBA?
When this question was originally phrased in the email, it said better than Mina's Brooklyn Nets. And so I just want to make sure that that part still makes it in, or else the context is completely lost. Yes, this is a question about the Jazz, which might be very exciting to people who accuse the media of having coastal biases. Here's the thing, Pablo probably, and maybe even Mina, will find a way to make this into a question about the Jazz's opponent last night, the Lakers. That's why we're finally having the conversation we should be having, which is the conversation being had by coaches across the league, which is what the Jazz are doing this season is awesome. They beat the Lakers last night by double digits. They routed them. In the last 2 weeks, they've beat the Lakers, the Bucks, the Celtics, a lot of teams. I included the Celtics to make myself feel better. A lot of teams that are considered very good, and they've beat them by a margin that's in an average of the double digits. They're doing very, very well. They've won 15 straight at home. This is a team that has multiple pieces that seem to be working together in a way that's very effective, and they're hitting threes. They're making more 3 attempts, and then they're making the threes. That's just math. I'm not good at math, but I know that 3 is bigger than 2 and that it adds up a lot quicker. That's basically what it comes down to. They're a great and fun team to watch. Respected coaches are comparing them to teams that ended up going on to succeed in ways that we still talk about. Steve Kerr is comparing them to what the Warriors used to be. Brad Stevens is comparing them to the 13-14 Spurs. So these are things we should be paying attention to and talking about. But like I said, I'm sure Pablo's going to make this about the Lakers now they don't have Anthony Davis.
Well, Katie Nolan, first off, thank you for joining the analytics revolution. 3 being bigger than 2 is actually the fundamental precept of all of our nerdery on the NBA side. More than that, I do want to give my, respect to the Jazz, because the argument for the Jazz is incredibly strong. There's no doubt that in the regular season right now, they are the best team. They are 20 games above 500. They have been up by 20 points 20 times this season. They are the only team in the league to be top 5 on offensive efficiency ratings and defensive efficiency ratings. No one is as balanced or as good. No one has an offense and a defense that is this dynamic. The main counter argument, though, and the reason why I'm not picking them to be the NBA champion this season, unfortunately, is also because they are the Utah Jazz. And it's not just because they're named the Jazz and they're in Utah, and that has never made any sense to anybody. It's simply because those 2 best players that they have, Donovan Mitchell and Rudy Gobert, excellent. One's an offensive dynamo. The other might be the best defensive player in the league, second to Ben Simmons, perhaps. The issue is that they're still a tier below the superstars like, and Katie Nolan, yes, take your victory lap, Anthony Davis and LeBron James. And when we get to the playoffs, it's still that kind of math that I keep on leaning on.
That's the core question that makes this Jazz team so interesting, because their success seems to fly in the face of everything we have learned about the NBA over the last few years, which is that it is worth sacrificing depth in order to build a super team or a big 2 or a big 3. Meanwhile, the Jazz legitimately seem like a team where the sum is greater than the parts. As you guys have painstakingly laid out, they rank in the top 3 in just about every statistical category. They're really fun to watch. Mike Conley, Donovan Mitchell, 2 of the most likable players in the NBA. Rudy Gobert is also there. And yet, I cannot help but feel like I've seen this movie before. Though if it was an actual movie, the band of scrappy underdogs would win. But in the NBA, they do not in recent years. Steve Kerr compared them to the Warriors. The Warriors had superstars. I love Donovan Mitchell. I'm not sure he belongs in the same tier as Anthony Davis or Kevin Durant of my beloved Nets. And when those 2 guys come back in the postseason, I just can't pick against them because of what we've seen in this league recently.
Yeah, that's spoken like a person who has thrown the weight of her name behind a team that built their entire thing on the value of superstars. So, of course, you're going to say without superstars, you can't get it done. I think something that is absolutely not sports related, but absolutely relevant here is the fact that Donovan Mitchell and Rudy Gobert having a great relationship is part of what's able to power this team. And they should not have that relationship. They shouldn't be speaking to one another, but they are, and they're communicating well. And to me, that is indication that this team is maybe capable of doing stuff they should not be capable of doing.
It is a shocking fact, Katie, almost as shocking as the fact that we're just letting Mina go on national television and say my beloved Nets, and we all just kind of nod now. Yeah.
They just followed me back on Twitter.
Oh my
Oh my
God.
God.
She doesn't deserve it. Take it back.
Hashtag
Follow
follow
her.
together.
It's a scam. It's a
Hashtag
scam.
Harden MVP.
She's using you. She will dispose of you the second you are no longer useful.
Thanks for watching ESPN on YouTube. For live streaming, sports, and premium content, subscribe to ESPN+.